You're listening to Real Estate Radio Northwest on Money Radio 1300 KKOL. Now, live in studio, your hosts, local real estate experts, Nick Neal and Carolyn Frame.
Hi friends, I hope you're having a great Saturday. I'm Nick Neal. I'm your host here at Real Estate Radio Northwest. Well, we're here with Andy Sharp from Sharp Estates Construction, and he's a general contractor that specializes in home remodels and additions, and just a neat guy. We thought it would be fun to kind of pick his brain on some topics, some important things. But before we do that, let's get to know a little bit about you. Andy, where are you from? And tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, hey, Nick. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah.
I grew up back on the East Coast, had the good fortune to live on a farm about an hour outside of New York City, and it's kind of there that my interest in construction started. You know, on a farm, you're always building or fixing something.
And then where'd you go to school?
Well, I went to college at the University of North Carolina in Greensboro, and where I studied design and technical theater. After my undergrad, I went on and did a year at the postgrad program at Yale University up in New Haven, Connecticut.
So you're a smart guy. That's awesome.
Well, yeah.
They don't let just anybody in there. Yeah.
That's right. And then I, going back to the Northeast, it didn't take me long to realize that I really had no business being in the Northeast. After 4 years in North Carolina. And so at the end of my my 1 year there, I answered a work ad for Tacoma Actors Guild, was actually looking for a master carpenter. And Tacoma, Washington sounded like a nice distance away from New Haven, Connecticut, so I applied. And
you've never been there before?
No.
Never been to Washington?
No,
wow,
no.
crazy.
Yeah, and so I interviewed over the phone, got the job, and loaded up my 74 Nova with all of my worldly goods and drove out here. And that was 23 years ago, and have really never looked back.
Wow, that's awesome. Well,
yeah.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Northwest on Money Radio, KKOL am 1300. I'm Nick Neal, here with Carolyn Frame and Andy Sharp of Sharp Estates Construction. And what an interesting background. You know, we talk to a lot of people that are in real estate, and they don't have that diversity, but it really sounds like it kind of came into what what you ended up doing with construction. But so what did you do with the Tacoma Actors Guild? Can you tell us a little bit?
Sure. I was their master carpenter. It's back in those days, back in the late 80s, we were still operating out of the old St. Leo's parochial school up on the top of Yakima, which was of course the hilltop, and an old schoolhouse and a stage. Our shop was up on the third floor in the old gymnasium, and so all of our materials, we'd haul up the stairs and build the sets and put them all together there and then haul them all back down when they were done and set them up on the stage. It was a really neat organization, very family-oriented, very supportive, and it was well supported by the community. I was very, very happy there. It was just a wonderful first professional job.
And then back to construction. How did you get from staging? Well, it sounds like a pretty natural progression. But how did that happen to get you into construction?
I'd always been interested in construction, and theater is a lot of fun, but it's a lousy way to make a living. And I knew I wanted to have a family, and I really wanted to have a small farm of my own for my kids to grow up on, and I couldn't support that, on a theater income. So I just kind of slowly transitioned out of it and started apprenticing with some local builders, and then my wife and I built our first house after 18 months or so of my experience in the field. We designed and built our first home basically by ourselves, kind of teaching us along the way. And in the process of doing that, I got licensed as a general contractor to do that. For discounts and things like that. And in the state of Washington, anybody can get licensed as a general contractor. There's no test. So I got licensed, and through the process of building this house, I realized that I was really enjoying myself, and so I decided to keep the license and try and get a business going.
Never looked back.
Never looked back. That's right. Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's cool. Well, that kind of leads into what we're going to talk about in our next segment too. about finding a contractor, and we're going to head into a break here shortly, but did you want to say anything more about
I was just thinking, Andy, as we were talking, coming over on the ferry, how diversified your skills really are, and having that background, when you look at the remodeling of a home, you talked a lot about, why that skill is important to you, with helping them design what they need.
Well, theater is a very collaborative enterprise, and you start with a script, and then a director comes along and he's got a concept for it, and he brings on a team of designers, lights and sets and costumes, and all these people are working together, kind of towards a common goal. And I try and bring that same spirit of collaboration into the design and construction work that I do with my client, because it's very, very important. Involving the homeowners in the realization of basically creating the setting of their own home.
That's cool. Yeah, well, we're going to talk more about that, and that was something that sparked my interest about choosing a contractor and making sure you get the right one.
Right.
So we're heading into a break now. Real Estate Radio Northwest with Carolyn Frame and Nick Neal and Andy Sharp of Sharp Estates Construction. Come back and find out how not to get stuck with the wrong contractor. We'll be right back.
Real Estate Radio Northwest is hosted by local real estate and finance experts Nick Neal and Carolyn Frame. The purpose of the show is to help consumers understand what's really going on in our local real estate market. We're teaching you the why and the how-to, so you'll always be one step ahead of everyone else.